Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking closely at some material related to the CBAP certification.
Yeah, specifically an analysis of some practice questions.
Exactly. And our goal isn't just, exam prep. We want to use these questions to unpack some really fundamental business analysis concepts.
Like using them as windows into how BAs think.
That's a great way to put it. Windows into core BA thinking. Now, the source mentions the exam basics, proctored, web-based, or test center, 3.5 hours, 120 multiple-choice questions, scenario, and case-based. English only.
Standard stuff for a certification like this.
Right. But let's park the exam details. Let's look at what these questions actually tell us about the work itself.
Agreed. They really do highlight the practical side of BA principles, what the discipline actually values in practice.
Okay, let's jump right into the first one then. So the scenario is, you're assessing an organization's current state, trying to find problems, opportunities. What's your primary focus?
And the guide says.
The guide says the answer is understanding business needs and root causes.
Okay, and that makes sense. The analysis in the source really pushes that you have to figure out what problems really exist and critically why they exist.
If you start thinking about fixing things.
Exactly. It's about not jumping the gun, Don't leap to solutions or future state designs too early. It's foundational. Current state assessment, problem analysis 101, really.
So why is hitting that root cause piece so non-negotiable before you even start thinking solutions? What's the risk if you rush past it?
Well, it's a classic trap, isn't it? You end up solving symptoms, not the actual disease, if you don't truly understand why something's broken.
The real root cause.
Yeah, any fix you come up with might just be like a Band-Aid. Or it could even backfire, create new issues down the line.
So the whole effort could be wasted if it's aimed wrong.
Pretty much. You might build a great solution to the wrong problem. It forces you to really question those initial assumptions.
Okay, got it. Makes total sense. All right, question 2. Here, a stakeholder suggests changing a requirement, but this requirement is already approved. What's the BA's first moves?
The classic change request on an approved item.
Right. The guide's answer is assess the impact of the change on other requirements and project objectives.
Yep. Pure change control and impact analysis. The source analysis is spot on before you even think about saying yes or no.
You have to understand the consequences.
Exactly. What are the ripple effects? You absolutely must figure that out first.
I like that emphasis on not just approving or rejecting straight away. Why is that impact piece so vital before making the call?
Well, think about it. Requirements aren't usually isolated islands, are they? They're interconnected. Change one thing here, and it might break something over there. It could blow out the scope, mess with the timeline, the budget. It might even undermine the whole reason you started the project.
So assessing impact isn't just ticking a box, it's actually managing risk.
Absolutely. It's about protecting the integrity of the solution and making sure you still deliver on the actual goals.
Okay. Moving to question 3. This was about techniques. How do you uncover needs that stakeholders don't explicitly state? The hidden stuff.
The unspoken requirements. Tricky. What technique does the guide suggest?
Observation.
Yes. Watching people work.
The analysis explains that by watching how people actually do their jobs, you can spot needs they might not even realize they have or just don't articulate in, say, an interview.
It shows the reality on the ground, not just their perception of it. It's a powerful elicitation technique.
It is fascinating, isn't it? Because it gets past what people say they do or what they think they do.
And shows what they actually do. Day to day.
How does that really differ from, interviews or looking at documents? What's the unique value?
Well, interviews give you perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Stated views. Documents give you the formal process, maybe the history. But observation, that gets you the informal reality.
The workarounds, the struggles.
Exactly. The shadow processes, the little daily frustrations, the things people just take for granted and don't think to mention. It gives you direct insight into their world, their workflow that you just can't get any other way. It uncovers needs that might totally stay hidden otherwise.
Right. Okay, question 4. Now we're talking about a solution that's been deployed for months. How do you make sure it's actually delivering the business value it was supposed to?
The moment of truth. Did it actually work?
The answer from the source. Measure solution performance against defined metrics.
Makes sense. The explanation says basically you need proof, objective evidence. Compare how the solution is actually performing against those targets or metrics you set up based on the original goal.
That's solution evaluation performance measurement territory.
Definitely.
And it really highlights that the BA's job doesn't stop at launch, does it? You have to circle back.
You absolutely do.
So why are metrics the key? Why not just ask people if they're happy?
Because business value needs to be, well, tangible, measurable. Did we increase efficiency? By how much? Did we cut costs? Where? Did customer satisfaction go up? Show me the numbers.
Otherwise, it's just feelings.
Pretty much. Gut feel, anecdotes. That's not solid proof that the investment paid off, and the solution actually achieved what it set out to do for the business. Metrics make it concrete.
Gotcha. Okay, last question for this dive. What's the most critical factor when you're planning your whole business analysis approach? Choosing techniques, deliverables, how you engage stakeholders.
The big picture planning. What does the guide say is most critical?
Organizational maturity and culture.
Yes, the context. The explanation is pretty clear. How the company actually worked its habits, structure, decision-making style, its history with change that heavily influences what BA approach will even be viable, let alone effective.
So it's not just about the specific project's needs, but the whole environment it lives in.
Absolutely. It's fundamental. You have to recognize that a super formal documentation approach that works perfectly in, say, a bank might completely bomb in a fast-moving tech startup.
Right, different cultures need different approaches.
Totally. You have to tailor everything, how you gather info, how you manage changes, how you communicate to fit the specific context. If you ignore the culture, you're kind of setting yourself up to fail, realistically.
Consider a project or a problem you've dealt with. Looking back, could a deeper dive into the real root cause, or maybe a more careful impact analysis on that one change request?
Or perhaps spending more time just observing what was actually happening.
Or defining clearer metrics up front to measure success, or even just consciously adapting your approach to fit the company culture better? Could any of those have significantly changed the outcome?
It's worth asking, isn't it, what seemingly small BA practice might be the key to unlocking success next time you face a challenge? Something to chew on.